Hello. Hello. I'm hoping some of the others come, but uh, Boca never told me what dates she was coming for, and no one else has signed up for today, so it might just be me. I'll have to try to keep you entertained. Also, regardless of what I've tried to do, I can't get the audio to sync with the video. If no one else comes, I can probably fix it another way. We'll have to see if that's gonna work. But I don't want to do it right this moment, because that might cause some problems if they come. Yeah, it's all because I have a 2 PC setup, so unfortunately, with my audio coming from the 1 PC, it would otherwise go in to Discord, which is a little inconvenient for us, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out. I got them kind of close. Maybe it'll work. Twitch is a little bit better about that. It's a little bit easy, or easier to get them to sync. However, Tribeca only goes through YouTube, so yeah, not as easy. Not as easy. So, please bear with me. Wow, 9 whole minutes. I think they're running a little bit late. Hopefully all of you are doing well today. Things are kind of crazy for last night's stream. The clip of Twisted Metal was getting copyright claimed on YouTube. So I had to tell it to try to clip that out, because that's the only option I had after I'd already uploaded it. And that was still in processing, but it meant my video never went live when it was supposed to this morning. They just reversed that something like, when was that? Like 2 hours ago. Hopefully that means people can see it now. We'll have to see. I can't even watch it myself to make sure it can play for me yet. I haven't had the time. So, yeah, that's a thing. But the video was processed and uploaded to YouTube just fine. So, copyright claims are evil. Obviously, they didn't even mean to do it. But that's why there's probably no one that had their Summer Game Fest videos up. At least I haven't seen any. Maybe there are. Maybe there are. No one I knew had posted any. So. But yeah. That was fun. That was fun. Just waiting on YouTube. I do a lot of that. Waiting on YouTube. But I'm not sure what we're gonna see today here. Usually Tribeca is about more artistic games. Tribeca is where they showed off, what was the name of that? Geez, I can't think of the name. Oh, I'm totally forgetting. Last year, though, there was that game that came out with the girl and something about mana, I think. It had really impressive, like, graphics though not in a traditional, lifelike design. It was made by the guy that is like a movie producer in like France, I think. But that first appeared here. There's been a few other games like that too. Usually they're very artistic games, but that doesn't mean they're bad games. So, yeah. I kind of expect some particular ones might show up, like maybe the Talos Principle. They sure seem to like their puzzle games. You're not as likely to see, like, the next Unreal game. But, anything else? Anything else? I think they also even showed off, like, some game creation stuff a couple of years ago. It's been a bit. All the different ones slowly start to blur together when you've been covering them long enough. But yeah, there's been some pretty nice games on here before, so I wanted to cover it, even if no one else was. Also, if you haven't heard the news, Atlas sort of forgot when they were going to release the news, and released that they're coming out with Persona 3 Reload. I think next year? There were 2 games they talked about. The other was in, like, yeah. One was a Persona 5, like, tactical game, I think. I don't know enough of the details. I just skimmed it, because I wanted to see it myself. But, yeah. Apparently that was meant to be a surprise for the Microsoft Xbox Bethesda event on Sunday. And Atlas messed up their dates. So it ended up going live on the internet, and it spread like wildfire. I actually heard a rumor about that about 2 months ago. I was playing the original that just released on PC when that came out, and I'm like, if you're rebuilding it, I gotta go and grab that one instead. So I decided not to play any more of it, and figured we'd come back to it later when the new version comes out. And if it's coming out next year, then that's perfect. That should be fun. I did like the game. I didn't so much like the UI. I thought the UI was kind of crap. But, yeah, I liked 3. At least when I played of it. It's pretty good. I want to see it all prettied up. Nice 3D graphics. I haven't had a chance to play too many Persona games until they finally started releasing them on PC. And I do need to play Persona 4 Golden for everyone on stream sometime. I did play 5 already. We did play 5. And I played some of the other Persona 5 game. Oh, what was it called? I'm blanking. Yep, this is the way I start things. But, it wasn't the music one, because they have the dancing ones. It was like Dynasty Warriors, but it was, Persona 5. I didn't play too much of it, though. I had too many things going on. New games came out. So, I had to put it on the back burner, and I haven't gotten back to it. I didn't quite like the way it played. compared to actual Persona 5, though. So, that's a total thing. But yeah, I don't expect that big of a reveal here. But I do want to really see what's coming out. I love getting to see the new games. And we have about 30 seconds. Are you ready, chat? Are you ready? By the way, if you're curious why I'm wearing this outfit today, it's about 65 out. So it's not nearly as warm as it was yesterday or the day before. Oh wow, that's definitely out of sync.
The city is back and it's exciting.
It's a fantastic film festival that really gets to the soul.
Let me see if I can fix the audio.
Downtown New York
Hang on.
filmmaking.
Okay, that's a
It's
little
about
too
the
loud.
vibrance and the culture of New York, and we pull it all together with films, games,
that okay?
immersive experience.
Nope, probably a little bit high.
We share our narratives now.
Okay,
differently.
how about that? I think that's okay.
There are so many more things that games can be.
Ever since I was a kid, I would play video games 24/7.
Every time I wanted to relax, every time I wanted to step out of the world for a bit.
You know, some people might say, well, go read a
Maybe
book. And I'm like, I don't
slightly
want to
too
read a book.
quiet.
I want to be in an interactive adventure. I want to feel like I'm part of the story.
I am Julian Cordero, and my game is Despelote.
Alright, that seems okay.
Goodbye, Volcano High.
Stray Gods?
Oh, that looks cool.
Chants of Sinnoh. Nightscape.
The Expanse.
Yes.
Welcome to Tribeca Games.
I'm definitely the Expanse fan. So, I like me some space games.
I must have climbed the hill behind the house 100 times.
Oh, I like her voice. I like her voice.
Every stone. But after that hill, there's another. And then another again. And after all that, then that's the sea. And I've never been there.
A Highland Song is a narrative adventure game set in the wilds of the Scottish Highlands. You play as Moira McKinnon, a teenager on her way to the sea for the first time. But to get there, you're going to have to find your way through the wild mountains and the valleys. You'll have to survive the weather, and you'll learn a bit about the stories and the history of the Highlands on the way.
Inkle is an independent game studio based in the UK, and we specialise in narrative games, so we make games in all sorts of genres, but our main focus is on games that tell really strong stories.
I'm not sure I like that type of
Our most
fish.
famous game is probably 80 Days, an adaptation of Jules Verne's classic novel.
The main hook of 80 Days is that you can go around the world any way you like. The way
It's a little
that
bit too
Highland
much
Song
visual
works is
novel for me.
extremely similar to 80 Days. You start in one particular point and you can choose all sorts of different routes through the Highlands in order to reach your goal. But it also
I do
ends
like the art
at
style
a single
though.
point because you're trying to reach the lighthouse where your Uncle Hamish lives by the sea.
Finding the right gameplay for a game like a Highland Song can be really difficult. Gameplay is usually built around loops and patterns, but good narratives aren't made out of loops. We want to make sure that the character isn't doing anything just for the sake of gameplay, but everything the character's doing has to make sense within the narrative.
So the reason that we've essentially created our very first platforming game is that it just makes sense for the character within this scenario to be jumping and scrambling over rocks. And it even has a rhythm action mechanic. So in many ways, it's the most gamey game that we've ever created.
I would not be able to do that.
Moira's platforming
Also
abilities
can't
in a
skip
Highland
rocks,
Song are
so-
quite realistic. She has a limited amount of time that she can climb. She gets hurt if she falls too far. She can rest to recover her strength. She gets affected by weather and affected by nighttime and affected by cold. A lot of our mechanics are built around the tension between knowing where you are and being lost. We have a map mechanic, which is all about that. It's about finding little pockets of knowledge, learning the names of peaks and understanding the history of the peaks to help you find your way through this world.
Definitely interesting take.
At Tinkle, we've always loved hand-drawn 2D illustration. We love how expressive it can be, especially for characters. Even when we made 3D games, we still had 2D characters because we loved the overall effect.
I mean, part of that is why a lot of current VTubers are 2D.
I grew up in Scotland. When I was a
3D's
teenager,
fine.
I went up
3D's
into the
totally
Scottish Highlands with 3 friends, and we
you
got
get a little
lost,
extra
and
out of
we
2D.
had to stumble through rivers and
One day,
bogs.
one day.
It was really quite a chilling, scary experience. My parents are art historians, and there was always one painting in particular that they had that I used to love as a child. It had a little ruined castle by loch and these Scots pine trees and this golden brown colour palette that was just so characteristic of the region. And so going for a really painterly aesthetic was a way to capture that. The more modern take on that is the digital paintings of concept artists such as Paul Scott Canavan, who we worked with on this project. And he came up with this really beautiful way of hand painting rocks and trees and grass and then assembling them as a huge collage, but then all built up so that the overall effect is of a painting coming to life.
When people play a Highland song, I really want them to come away with a strong sense of the place, the Highlands themselves. There's this tension in that place between being full of story
I have
and history,
several
and the marks
generations
left
back
behind by people,
relatives
whether that's
from this area.
ruined farmhouses, or whether that's just the names attached to the various peaks and the stories behind those names, which often go back a very, very long way indeed.
When I first kind of conceived of the game, I tried to forget everything about what games we'd made as a studio before, what games are out there, and I just tried to imagine, what do I want on my Switch for me to play right now? And pretty much a Highland song, as the way it looks and feels,
How do you adults
popped into
have
my
so
head,
much time to play on a
I feel I can't be
Switch?
prouder of what we've created.
I mean, the only time I would have to play is if someone were driving me around in a car. That's why I don't own one. I mean, I can play it at home, but I can just go to my computer. I think I saw this last year. If I could play
Co-op
rhythm
is a game
games,
studio
this would
that's
look
based
interesting.
originally in Montreal, but is now remote and worldwide. It is a cooperative.
Basically, that means that we make all major decisions together. We decide whether we want to work 4 days or 5 days. Spoiler alert, we decided to do 4 days a long time ago.
We present concepts when we are
Not
starting
surprised.
to put together things. And we all vote on what we think is what everybody would like to work on.
And you feel more attached to what you're making because you voted for it, you chose it.
Her
It was
mic
really
sucks, by
important
the
for
way.
us to feel like this was a
She
different
keeps
space
click-
where people actually could be the
clipping.
voices behind the games that we make.
That's
We are
totally
the
not my
makers
channel.
of
That's her mic.
Some charming, fun
That's the
games
game.
like Winding Worlds and Nog.
Why did they
and
not
the
fix her
upcoming
audio?
Volcano High.
Goodbye Volcano High is a cinematic visual novel about dinosaurs in their final year of high school. At the start of the year, they find out that a meteor is coming. And the game is about asking yourself, what would you do if you had 1 year left? Who would you be? Who would you want to love? And how would you want to go out?
I vote yes.
I don't think this is a voting type situation.
I mean, it does kind of belong to all of us. Or it was supposed to.
It does. You did a great job.
So, what do you say, Fang?
We chose dinosaurs for Goodbye Volcano High for a couple of reasons.
Originally, when we presented the game to everybody else, it was meant to be a dating sim because, like, at the time, this was kind of like the hot thing to work on was dating sims. And then we were like, hold up. Here's the hook. It's a dating sim with dinosaurs at the end of the world. As soon as you start talking about a meteor, even though the characters are unsure what's going to happen, you know what's going to happen.
And that was really important to us because we wanted to make something that could tap into the anxiety of our current times. And dinosaurs was a really great way to create that metaphor instantly.
As it went on and we became kind of more ambitious and more interested in making what we actually like, we were like, what if it's an anime and we tell a story that isn't necessarily so focused on dating, but really goes deep into the emotional aspects of the end of the world.
So high school already feels like it's the end of the world to most people, so it wasn't really that hard to hone in on the teen angst. It's really the hope that's tricky to encapsulate.
High school to me is all about that sweet, sweet balance of doom and hope.
Hope for the better future, hope for the dreams we chase and the ambitions we strive for. Those are things that can feel impossible to cling to, especially with something that can't be stopped and feels inevitable, like a giant meteor hitting you.
And communities all across the continent reacted to the news of a previously unknown space object this morning.
So, how do you deal with that?
It starts off very joking. They're kind of making gallows humor jokes.
In light of the whole space rock potential demise of civilization thing, my chosen theme feels off.
What's the theme?
Using this year to, make an impact?
Our characters all have different methods of coping. Some double down on their ambitions, determined to accomplish their dreams before it's too late. Others slow down and decide to savor what time they have left, regardless of what their dreams are.
We can still win! Battle of the Bands! Asteroid or not!
The player character essentially ends up being the UI, and you end up playing as Fang's inner monologue.
I think this means she's rooting for us?
Music is really important in Goodbye Volcano High, and I would actually say music is really important to our studio and all of our games. It's core to our DNA, and music is central to the identity of the people who
part I would
make the
have
game,
no
and
luck
so it
with.
is central to the identity of the game itself and the characters within it.
There's no
If not
performance
for that,
in this game.
if not for that.
Separate from the narrative. It is essentially the same as having a scene of dialogue, but you're playing music.
We never climbed, we never fell. We scaled our way out of this water well.
Fang
Well, that's way
is
too
kind
complex
of
for me.
gearing up for their
I saw that
future
last
as a
screen,
musician,
and I went,
and then realizing that they may not have
no,
a future
no.
anymore.
Panic,
So
panic,
those
run away.
two things are kind of clashing in their brain for the music they're creating and singing in the game.
I think every person hopes that they get to be near people they love and who understand them and that love them. Those are things people can grasp no matter how much time they have left.
I think that this game really encourages people to be brave.
I do like
the
the
brave
things.
things and love each other and be there for each other, even when it's scary, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
Chance of Sinner. This feels a lot like Journey. Journey with puzzles, maybe?
Bonjour, je suis Julien.
Bonjour, je suis Thomas.
Oh,
Nous
now
sommes
we're
les
in
cofondateurs de
French.
Rundisk et nous sommes ici pour vous parler de Chance of Scénar.
Avec Chant of Scénar, nous avons voulu proposer une aventure originale basée sur le mythe de Babel.
On a essayé de vous
ask me to
plonger dans la peau d'un
translate.
voyageur qui débarquerait dans un pays
I could
complètement
not
inconnu.
talk fast enough while trying to translate
Tout au
that.
long de son ascension, le joueur va
I'm way too
rencontrer
rusty.
5 peuples différents. Chaque peuple a ses propres coutumes, sa propre histoire et évidemment sa propre langue.
Comme chacun de ces peuples parle des langues différentes, ça fait des siècles qu'ils ne se comprennent plus. Une partie du jeu et de l'aventure va consister à comprendre les raisons de cette
They have
division
their own
et peut-être
games
essayer de rétablir
in the
l'harmonie dans la
story, though. It's about learning the language.
Quand on a compris qu'on voulait travailler sur les langues, on a eu cette idée de s'inspirer de la tour de Babel, parce que c'est un mythe qui est très puissant, qui parle des hommes qui essayaient d'atteindre le ciel en construisant une gigantesque tour. Et ça a déplu aux dieux qui ont décidé de les frapper d'une malédiction, en leur faisant tous parler une langue différente. Ce qui est important et original dans le jeu, c'est que les langues sont des puzzles en soi. Pour nous, un mot c'est pareil qu'un levier, une porte, une clé. On comprend des langues en résolvant des puzzles, et résoudre des puzzles nous permet de comprendre des langues.
Chant of Sonar est avant tout un jeu d'aventure. Au-delà de l'aspect puzzle, le joueur devra explorer l'environnement, interagir avec différents personnages et participer à des scènes d'action et d'infiltration.
Donc on a eu cette idée de créer un héros qui serait plus un traducteur, un diplomate, un scientifique quelque part, et qui soit dans cette démarche de réconciliation. Le personnage lui-même n'est pas un personnage violent, c'est pas un personnage fort, c'est pas un guerrier. Il va s'en sortir, il va trouver des clés autrement que par la violence. C'est important pour nous de montrer ça, puisque quelque part ce qu'on essaie de montrer dans le jeu, ce qu'on essaie en tout cas de dire dans le jeu, c'est que la violence n'est pas forcément le moyen de tout résoudre.
You can pet the kitty.
Les inspirations artistiques du jeu elles se trouvent principalement dans la bande dessinée européenne des années 70-80, puis plus tard on a élargi les inspirations du jeu, on a convoqué le brutalisme, l'architecture mauresque, l'architecture indienne, et c'est ce qui nous a permis de créer ce monde un peu pluriel.
Chant of Sonar est une invitation au voyage, à la tolérance et à l'ouverture sur les autres.
D'ordinaire, les langues étrangères sont vues comme un frein. C'est d'ailleurs pour ça qu'on parle de barrière de la langue. Mais dans Chant of Sonar, ce contexte est voué à être dépassé puisque les langues y sont à la fois l'obstacle et la solution. On espère que vous aurez du plaisir à découvrir la tour, à résoudre ses mystères et à nous aider à réunifier ces peuples.
Et évidemment, nous avons hâte d'avoir vos retours.
Wow, they really didn't decide to talk slower to make it easy on people who might not be native French speakers.
Nightscape is a 2.5D atmospheric adventure game where the ancient Arabian night sky loses its light.
You play as Layla, who is an astronomer who just loves to look at the night sky.
She's cute.
As Layla,
Look
players
at her.
wield the magical astrolabe, restoring stars back to constellations in order to seek a path home. A key stellar cast member is the Goat Kid constellation. The Goat Kid decides to accompany Layla in her journey.
These days, people do not know much about constellations and the stories behind them, especially
we can't
Arabic
even
constellations.
see most of them.
They're different from the Western or the Greek constellations. And so we've had a big research task finding out what those constellations mean, what the backstories are, and finding out how we can turn those ideas into gameplay elements.
The importance of the sky is having this sky-ground connection. Having Layla use the constellation's abilities to solve puzzles and help with Layla in defeating enemies.
The game being 2.5D, you can actually walk into the screen. There's a lot there that allow them to make the game very cinematic.
This is a brand new experience for me,
very
building a team from the ground up. We found an amazing level designer in Nabil and a coder in Idris. And very recently we found our technical artist in Zaki, and those three are the powerhouse of the studio. And I think it's really genuinely amazing that we found those guys who are willing to work with us in Doha. I was very unsure about the amount of talent for making video games in the Middle East. And I think we got super lucky finding the team that we did.
For me, it all starts with a story and pictures that triggers my imagination. It triggered immediately some music in my mind. Beautiful Middle Eastern melodies to take them in, the makams, to combine them with harmonies, Western influences as well, that it comes together as a blend.
In my mind, designing sound is a bit like playing with clay, like trying to model this clay, this sound, manipulate, edit, cut. For example, the hook shot is mostly made by a tree branch, the footstep of a scorpion walking, which is a mix of knife and stone. The voice of a scorpion is my voice, actually.
Oh heck, that one is big.
And then overly processed. When the scorpion attack, when the scorpion died, attack, that's my voice.
We're trying really hard to make the game feel magical.
He roars at
particularly
us.
the parts where the player is trying to figure out the puzzles.
Being in a country like the Philippines where my hometown had about zero pollution, so looking at the stars was one of my hobbies, which is why Nightscape appealed to me a lot.
There's about 65 million people in the MENA region who play games, and there's a very, very sparse amount of content being developed from within. We want to push that boundary, and we want to create fun and meaningful games with the Middle East in mind, utilizing its culture and rich traditions and history to really inspire ideas for games
I mean,
going forward.
I like cultures all over the
And
world.
ultimately build a bridge towards understanding the Middle East better.
But I do suggest any region that wants to make some games.
Is the world too much, or is
Oh yeah, this one.
just me?
This one looked good. I think we saw a bit of this last year.
Unravels at my feet. Everything I've loved,
That is totally Laura Bailey.
wasted on a girl who doesn't know
Or at least it really sounds like
how
her.
to be free.
The games industry is always absolutely convinced that we can only be this and this only until someone comes along and proves them wrong.
Stray Gods is a role-playing musical where you control the song. You play as Grace, a college dropout who's not quite sure what to do with her life.
A woman living in the modern world who encounters the last of the Greek muses,
Calliope?
who dies in her arms, passes on her powers, and Grace discovers that the Greek gods are alive and well and hidden in the modern world.
We think that Stray Gods kind of appeals beyond just fans of video games. It's a really unique story and a unique experience.
There are so many elements that go into this game to make it special that you can attach to any one of them and have an incredible experience.
Stray Gods is what we call a role-playing musical. It's not really a genre that's ever existed before.
You say you didn't kill Calliope. You have 1 week to prove it. What do I do?
Yeah, that's Laura Bailey.
This is a game with branching musical numbers where the key decisions in the story are made in musical numbers that change depending on your choices.
Lost girls, lost girls.
The way that we tackle music is one that people have never seen before. Boarding multiple branching paths that should link up to each other. There's a lot of considerations to factor in. It's very complicated, but it feels very worth it in the end.
Perfectly fine on her own.
We got to work with some of the best, the most talented voice actors in the world, the most talented people on Broadway. What more could you ask for, really?
Being able to work with some champions like Austin Wintory, David Gator, Troy Baker has been nuts.
At the end of the day, it came down to our
Wow, they don't even
composer,
mention
Austin.
Laura.
He works some kind of
Really?
dark magic, and you get it all back, and you're like, don't know how you transformed that take into this, but it's absolutely amazing.
You'll have to see. You have to see.
We have such incredibly complex, thoughtful characters in this game. Every single character in the game has the potential to be a favorite.
My favorite character is Eros.
I really love Aphrodite. I think she is beautiful.
Oh no, that's too hard of a question.
My favorite character is, I think, Orpheus.
My king, Orpheus. He's my favorite. It used to be Hermes, but Orpheus, emo king, love.
Look at me, who do you think I am? I'm saying Medusa. I am the #1 Medusa fan in the office.
I love Medusa, and I love Persephone, and I adore Freddie. But my favorite?
I reckon my favorite character is Freddy.
I'm really going to go against the grain here. My favorite character is Freddy.
Everybody's going to say Freddy, so I thought I'd say someone else as well.
But my favorite... Oh, yeah, I'll say Freddie. But Medusa and Calliope and Persephone. It's really hard. Sorry.
There is a level of belief in the studio in the themes in this game and the stories that it's trying to tell and the people it's trying to involve and the people it's trying to talk to that I haven't seen on a lot of the games that I've worked on in my career.
We've assembled this superstar group of people. It is a Voltron of game development.
Early on, Liam made a conscious effort to make sure that everyone that we hired
I like that
culturally fit,
description.
but also had a conscious effort to make sure that we weren't hiring the same kind of people.
Every single person who came onto this project brought something wholly and uniquely theirs.
It's one thing to be able to hire to have diverse voices. It's also another thing to make sure that those voices are heard. It's just important for us that everyone, one, feels safe enough to share their opinion, and two, diverse enough that many opinions are shared from all sorts of walks of life.
At the end of the day, gaming is about joy, and I really like being reminded that making games can also be about joy.
See, then they put Laura at the top. They don't mention her earlier. Now suddenly they do. Oh, and was that Erika Ishii I saw? Erika's cool. I like Erika. Don't mind me. I'm just nerding out over here. Oh, the Expanse. I know that. Heck yeah. Let's go with some space.
The Expanse is an exceptional intellectual property in that it's huge and that the characters are the forefront of what they are focusing on.
What is so compelling about it is that it works in several different mediums, right? I mean, we began with the books. And then I think what was so special about the television show was that it was almost like just another window of looking in at this same story.
So what's unique about the way that we tell stories is that we give our players agency over the character they're playing, which basically means that their choices shape the overall story, so they're actually living in the story as opposed to just following along with it.
Yes.
When you're
you want that
adapting
in
a
game.
television property
At
into
least
a
a
video
good
game
game.
property, you have to think about what the fan is expecting and when they're coming into. This takes place years before the first season. We're getting to see the world through Kamina Drummer's eyes. She is a belter, somebody who's out in deep space and has grown up there, has never set foot on a planet, so her perspective is really different.
It's hard for me to look at these moons without thinking about the Earther research colonies exploiting all the resources on them and giving nothing to the belt.
I hoped to portray her, especially at the beginning of the video game, as a little bit more vulnerable and open and to see the events that cause her to harden.
Just like Ceres, bossing everyone around, only this time no dolls to keep you on the leash, yeah?
Oh! Good move.
A really
Good
awesome
move.
character like Drummer deserves to have really interesting
have my
situations to be
leash
put
in the
that
face.
fans have come to expect from the show, and now it's like they're getting to play an episode of The Expanse, but in video game form. We can do things like put zero-G in the game, but we have to think about it from what's a good interaction medium, and changing that from what you may have seen in the show slightly to make sure that it's something that you can grok immediately and that feels good on the sticks, but that is also representative of what you see in the show. Those characters have really complex issues that they're facing regularly. And in narrative games, we want to give players these gray areas to really think, is this the answer I wanted to choose, or do I want to choose this answer? And that they both have their upsides and their downsides. And so The Expanse is perfect for that.
Drummer, his suit is punctured and losing pressure. You need to release the vault
That's a
and patch him
good-
now or he could die.
Or rather, a very
Belay
bad
that.
situation.
That vault has O2, fuel, armaments. We can't afford to lose it.
It was a really interesting challenge to come at the same character in a completely different medium.
Deck 9 is a video game studio. We are known for our
That's a very hard
narrative, our
choice.
characters, and our motion capture technology.
It's a completely blank white room. You've got some tape on the floor, maybe a few things made out of wire to show where a door frame might be or something like that, but otherwise it's pure imagination.
I assume you didn't come here to talk about crystals.
We have a new target.
What is it this time, El Dorado? The Fountain of Youth? Let me guess. The Falcon Horde of Venus?
The UNN Urshanabi. Cap believes there's something valuable on board.
Something that we are really excited for people to experience in the Expanse of Telltale series is the emotional performance that we're getting from our actors that comes through with our technology, and from our animators that really bring out the personality in these characters.
I work for you, but you don't own me.
Believe me,
I'm well aware.
Just want to make sure you're not having second thoughts about our deal.
Oh, come on. We're equal partners. We pay the crew, the costs, and the overhead.
The rest is 50-50. You and me.
I mean, that's the joy and the beauty of a job like this, is that I get to play.
We're hoping that you form these bonds with these characters and that they are something that you carry with you after you're done playing the game and you're thinking about it later. That to me is always a testament of good storytelling is, am I thinking about it long after I experienced the game itself?
I am Julian Cordero, and I'm the lead developer and programmer in Despelote. Despelote is a game about soccer, and it's a slice-of-life adventure game set in 2001, when Ecuador was really close to qualifying to the World Cup for the first time. Everybody was incredibly excited about this moment, and you see it through the eyes of an 8-year-old kid kicking a ball around with your friends in the park.
¿Vamos a jugar?
When I was growing up, I played a lot of soccer, and Ecuador's culture of soccer is very big. And if you're a boy and you're not playing soccer, it's like hard to make friends.
Soccer was almost
my
a non-thing
best friends
in the
I made
US
were
when I was growing
through
up.
playing soccer. But then when I moved to the US, I wasn't
I
really
only got a
watching or
handful of
playing
times to play.
soccer for a few years. That sort of made me like take a step back from it. I sort of like realized this, and I was like, oh, like this had such a big role in my life. I wanted to make this game to sort of like figure out what it was that was really interesting about soccer growing up. When I started making the game, the first thing I focused on was this like relationship with the ball, and like making the ball like this physical object that you're kicking around. More than like creating like a soccer match, I knew that I wanted to just like your relationship with the ball and like how that sort of then relates to your environment. Immediately was thinking, okay, what should it look like? And there was this artist and musician, Sebastian. I really liked his work.
My name is Sebastián Balbuena, and I am in charge of the art in Despelote. That includes 2D animation, 3D modeling, and also the music. This is actually the first video game I have ever worked in.
I knew the game was going to be in 3D because I wanted the game to be like feel very physical, and this like the physical connection with the ball.
We wanted to find a graphic style that could communicate emotions, and we found that the 2D hand-drawn animation was the best way to do that.
We developed like the art style sort of around like his previous work and his style. It sort of feels very nostalgic to us to have these like backgrounds with this like very grainy aesthetic. That was just very important to have that dynamic. The background being so noisy, the characters being so like hand-drawn and like so clean.
I don't think I could play this
As soon as
game.
like I was like, okay, well, what's the setting for this game? Like the only really idea I had was like where I have played soccer in my life, which is in Quito. That's where the game sort of had to be set. It became really important for us to like capture Quito in a way that was like very true to us. So we're using a lot of pictures, and the buildings are all real buildings.
Some of the voices are from people that we knew. We wanted to have the same feeling that you get when you listen to people's conversation in the street. So that's why we went with the improvisation for the dialogue.
Gotta like the
It's all improvised, really.
Gotta
We
like the
approached
kids.
a lot of friends and family in Ecuador. The parents are played by my own parents, so there's an interesting dynamic happening there as you run around as a kid. The scene we set is, it's 2001. Ecuador is just coming out of this big economic crisis, and there's this idea we can qualify to the World Cup, and that's like really exciting. And it's been great because I think it's bringing in a lot of this like sort of communal understanding of the moment. So my parents aren't really big soccer people,
enthusiastic.
but the excitement of qualifying to the World Cup was so big that even they were really excited about it.
Oiga, ya está jugando el Ecuador, vamos a ver. Todo el mundo está hablando de que este sí hay chance.
Capturing this moment in time was important because I think for my generation, the first time we qualified to the World Cup, it sort of meant like, oh, Ecuador is a tiny little country, but all of a sudden we were like in the world stage, and we were like playing against Italy, and like we were like in the big newspapers, and that felt like a really big thing. Pelota in Spanish means ball, And despelote is sort of a saying that people have. Is like, esto está hecho un despelote, is like, this is a mess. So it's sort of like a play on words, like ball and like mess. We're growing up with this idea of si se puede, which is what the people chant to the soccer team, which means, yeah, we can do it. Si se puede and si se pudo, like we can do it and we already did it. Like that's not something my parents were able to like grow up with. People like grasp onto it so much, and I think it like really gave a lot of people so much hope. And I think for me, like that being like one of my earliest memories,
Sorry if
it
I'm
sort
not
of made
saying
me
too
grow up
much.
thinking like, oh yeah,
I like his story.
yes, we can.
I'll
I
probably
hope that
never
people
play the
really
game.
enjoy just running around in Quito. I think we've built it in a way that is based on a lot of our memories. Instead of like trying to recreate it directly one-to-one, it's more of like a fuzzy memory. And I hope that feels very like transportive for people, and they can experience what this moment in time in Ecuador was, and how I felt through that time.
Ese Caviedes, ahí está sacándose la camiseta.
Oh, that was it. Really? Really? I mean, I was expecting an hour. Well, I guess today is gonna be short. Obviously, I like the one about the stray gods, though I probably would never play it. I'm not big on musicals. I wanted to play The Expanse, and there was another one that looked really good, and I'm forgetting which one it was. Oh well. Nope, I don't want you to play anything more. Nothing more. Well, with that, tomorrow, Future of Play Direct, the Wholesome Games Show, and Future Games Show, starting at 11 a.m. and running until about 2. At least EST. I'm EST, so that's what I'm thinking. So yeah. Basically, lunchtime with games. And us. We should have several people tomorrow. It was only today where there weren't many. But I'm expecting at least 3, maybe 4 of us on Saturday. And then, obviously, a lot of big things on Sunday. Monday's gonna have a little bit. We might see even more on Tuesday. I'm not entirely sure. And I'm probably not gonna do the VR showcase on Wednesday. So, yeah. And Thursday we might do that. I'm not sure if that's gonna be in English or not. I need to find out. I'm looking around. So, let me see about finding someone for us to raid. I don't get to actually raid her very much, but I think we're gonna raid Glitter. Let me get things set up. You might have heard a little bit of her. But, yes. Glitter's cool. I haven't had too much of a chance to talk to Glitter lately, but, we actually did an interview a couple of years ago. So, I know Glitter is cool. With that, have fun, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.